Good morning, everyone. I am grateful and honored to be here to present with this panel of esteemed colleagues for this important discussion. My topic of exploring unspoken questions focuses on bringing up not necessarily common questions, but important ones for transformation and healing. Please have a pen and a piece of paper next to you for you to record your answers to the questions that I pose. I would like to ask that you respond in the chat if you desire to do so, but if you do not, that's what the piece of paper will be for. For the last two questions is where I'll have you respond. You will have 60 seconds to respond to these questions. Let me share. Before we get into the questions, I would like to take a brief moment to speak about healing justice. The Young Women's Empowerment Project and the Chicago Healing Justice Learning Circle attributed to Cara Page that healing justice is a framework that identifies how we can holistically respond to generational trauma and violence, and to bring collective practices that could impact and transform the consequences of oppression on our bodies, hearts, and minds. Healing justice means that we all deserve to heal on our own terms as we confront oppressive systems that get in our way. It is a reminder to social movements that the concept of action should be expanded to support the self-determination, the interdependence, resilience, and resistance of those most impacted by oppression. Healing justice is revolutionary in confronting the capitalist, colonial, individualistic paradigms that tell us that we are alone when we seek out healing. But we are not alone. We have come together in this forum to collectively start the practice of healing. And it begins with discussing uncomfortable questions. So my first question that, again, I won't have you respond to this one just yet. I will respond to it. Why can't I declare myself an ally? My response is that you have to earn the title of allyship by the group that deems you worthy of such a title. An active ally is someone who not only pays lip service to injustices, but acts on those injustices, making sacrifices such as speaking against racism while engaging in conversations with family, friends, and colleagues, to the point that you may lose a friend or you may have to distance yourself from family. It might look like making policy changes about hiring Black people or people of color, or making waves at institutions or corporations, even if it costs you your favoritism at work or you're overlooked for a promotion. A professor of Duke University, Mark Anthony Neal, said, "I don't need you to feel my pain. I need you to have influence with those who are responsible for my pain to help address the issues." In other words, decentering whiteness, meaning that it's not about you. It's about examining your own privilege and using it to help. This really contributes to Black folks healing because it means that we are not doing the heavy lifting and spotlighted to educate others about our plight. Allyship also means following Black folks' lead by listening and learning from their experiences, really looking for opportunities to listen and learn about their experiences. You have to know better to do better, and to adopt a mindset where you're constantly learning, growing, and improving how you stand up and show up for others. My next question to you all. Now, I would like to have you take 60 seconds to respond to this question in the chat. Why now amidst the summer anti-racist protests? Are white people sparked or triggered about Black Lives Mattering? Please take 60 seconds to respond to the chat or write on your piece of paper. Okay. It's hard for me to monitor the chat in this, but that's okay. I'm just going to respond. So, Black Lives Matter gained national recognition in 2014 when Michael Brown of Ferguson, Missouri, and Eric Gardner of New York City, New York, were killed by police. But the movement really began with the murder of Trayvon Martin in 2012 by a civilian who was tried and acquitted of all charges. This list goes on, with Oscar Grant in 2009 being killed by BART police. But really take it back all the way to 1991 with the brutal beating of Rodney King, where all people can see. There are far too many of these examples of Black men and women like Breonna Taylor, Tatiana Jefferson, and Sandra Bland being murdered at the hands of white men or white police officers. So why now is this anti-racist movement urgent? We have had plenty of opportunities prior to George Floyd to address systemic issues in institutions and corporations. From the various articles that I've read, the consensus seems to be that there are a large number of white people speaking out in social circles, so it became permissive to speak out too. It became inappropriate to be silent, and there would be less repercussions. So essentially, it was because of contact with other white people that people took action. But again, I ask, why now? My final question is, what is weaponizing whiteness? How can this impact communities and community building? Again, please take 60 seconds to either respond on your piece of paper, or if you feel comfortable, respond in the chat. Thank you. So I see one of the responses was about the upcoming election has people up in arms. And another one is about the assumption that white people, and more to the point perhaps, our property are in need of armed violent protection. My response is weaponizing whiteness is using privilege to get your kids into college or a good seat at a restaurant or get preferential treatment at work, such as getting a promotion. We have seen it over and over again. A Black or brown person is sitting at a Starbucks, barbecuing in a public park, or relaxing in a common area of a college they attend. Then someone calls the cops on them for looking like they don't belong or being out of place. They have to constantly prove they are part of a society or part of the community. Per Merriam-Webster, a weapon is something as a club, knife, or gun used to injure, defeat, or destroy. At its essence, categorizing race as a weapon is making the claim that whites are intentionally and knowingly using their color of their skin to deliberately injure or destroy those who don't look like them. So when a white person can use race to gain privilege in some way, the most dangerous being calling the police, that person has set in motion a set of circumstances that can lead to harm or even death. Black people may consider calling the police on them as an act of terror, one that could threaten their lives. And this fear is not without merit, given historical and current context. Weaponizing whiteness undermines building community. By delaying progress and breaking down racial barriers, it promotes bias and threatens humanity, and stokes fear and anxiety in Black people and other people of color. How can we build community to heal, a community to heal with a shaky foundation on race? But I hope that having the opportunity to write down these responses I posed, whether in the chat or within your notebook, has allowed for some time of reflection. And now that I've addressed some of these unspoken questions, I would like to turn it over to Professor Chian Imhoff, who will talk about embodied racism from a physiological perspective. Thank you.